When we started our deconstruction journey, Chelsea and I both expanded our knowledge and our worldview by reading books and following social media accounts of people like Dante Stewart, people like Nadia Boltz-Weber, Sarah Bessey, and Rachel Held Evans.
And even though Rachel Held Evans has passed, she started a conference in Minneapolis called the Evolving Faith Conference. It's a conference that Brandon and I would love to attend.
Definitely.
It would be a dream to be there. This conference is in October, and Brandon and I did the budget, and it looks like it'll be about $1,100 for us to go.
And although we've left some big churches, we've also left some of that big church funding.
Yeah.
But that doesn't make us want to not learn anymore,
Right.
just because we don't have that funding. We've started this podcast and we do it on our own and we do it for you guys. We have some sponsors, but we really need your help with this.
Yeah, and so we've done the math, and we figured that if every one of our listeners just gives $8, then we could go to this conference for ourselves and for you. Mm-hmm. And I really believe that we could do it if we do it all together. So you'll find information in the link of our bio in this video for the next couple of episodes in our podcast so that you know how you can help us get to the Evolving Faith Conference.
Thank you in advance for the way that you help us.
We love you, dropouts. Hey, dropouts.
What's up? We're recording.
Oh, episode 17. It feels pretty weird.
It is.
In the best way.
We did not sing Taylor Swift on episode 16. Oh, you're not supposed to.
15?
I don't know. She has like 4 songs with numbers in it.
Yeah, she does. Because when you're 17, we can just change it up. I think that's fine. Yeah, I feel right about that.
Okay, great.
I think it should be 17 anyway. 15's such a, like, of all ages you could have sang about Taylor. Like, never, no, a hard pass on the 15.
Catch us on episode 22, though.
That's right. Because we're feeling it. You know what I'm saying?
That's true.
So, intro question today before we get into anything else.
Yep.
What is your favorite family tradition?
Yeah, family traditions are funny.
Perfect. Okay.
When
awesome.
I feel like you will relate to this. We haven't ever talked about this, but when your family's kind of like
broken up,
or
up,
like your parents have been divorced since 7.
Right.
You were 7. I also was 7.
I was like 2 when they.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I feel like traditions flow in and out.
Yeah.
So you might have done Thanksgiving at someone's house for like 3 years, but it stopped after that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or you might have did Easter at someone's house, but you stopped doing that. My favorite family tradition, on Christmas Eve, my dad would have us, and my mom would have us on Christmas.
Yeah, like always?
Always.
Okay.
And on Christmas Eve, we would, the night before, watch a movie with my dad.
Mm-hmm.
And the next morning, we would open up our gifts, and then my dad would make breakfast.
Oh, that's awesome.
And so now that breakfast on Christmas Eve, like, and then we would hang out or whatever, and then we'd get ready for a Christmas Eve service at church.
Yeah.
And then after the service, my dad would drive us out to our mom's house.
Okay, yeah.
So Christmas Eve with my dad, with that breakfast, holds a special place in my heart now that he's passed.
Yeah,
so.
I love that.
But it did back then too, but it's probably the most consistent holiday tradition for sure.
Yeah. It's really funny because I was going to say Christmas Eve too. And I wonder how many of you listening, like your family tradition, your favorite one is like a Thanksgiving or Christmas Eve type of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Because I feel like that's so like such a common, it doesn't change, right? Like those traditions are so consistent. But we spent Christmas Eve in this house actually that I live in now, my entire life. My grandma and grandpa lived here and they hosted Christmas Eve. And I mean, my grandma hosted almost everything anyway, Easter, Thanksgiving. But so any holiday where I got to, eat my grandma's food and hang out with my grandparents. But Christmas Eve was just so special because I just love Christmas. I'm a huge freak about Christmas.
Yeah.
Snow. So that just the magic of that whole thing.
Tell the people how many Christmas trees you had in your house last year. Last year was a record year?
It was a record year last year. But now I have to count again because I'm like
double digits.
3, 4. Yeah, no. 5, 6. I think we had 8.
Okay.
total, I think.
8
And
trees.
I think that's including the one on the front porch. So that maybe doesn't count. But it was a Christmas tree with lights on it. So, so that might, so 7 maybe.
Tell us
inside.
in the comments. Does it count?
Yeah, but yeah, you guys, I'm afraid. And I don't live in a mansion either, by the way.
What was a meal that your Grammy cooked that you loved?
Oh gosh, in her later years, like in the last like 5 years, she's been gone for a year. But she started this new like mac and cheese crockpot recipe. Oh my God, it was so good. But before that, I loved, like, she always did really good like sides. She always did really good on the side dishes. Like my grandpa would cut the turkey or whatever.
Oh,
but she would do all the like broccoli and cheese casserole, the green bean casserole, like all those things were
Why
so
is
good.
it that the men can always do the meats?
We have the meat.
I'll handle the grill.
Somehow, yeah. I'm like, I'd like to. I wish we could go back like 5 years and maybe
Cooking
like,
is a women's thing,
Right.
but somehow,
Right.
if it's meats, it's masculine approved.
I want to go back to like when I was like 12 and be like, I'll cut the turkey, like, and just see what my grandpa would do. You know what I mean? But I was always just like, I'll set the table. You know, like, I don't know.
Oh, helping set the table as a kid. Oh,
Anyways, so you said your family, the joke, I mean, all jokes aside, we talked about like already that the broken dynamics of like your traditions being kind of broken because of our broken families. And I guess broken's not always fair, but I'll claim it for sure for my family.
Yeah, I claim it.
And but what's the dynamic?
We won't hold up our wallets, but hold up your hand if your family's broken.
Hello, darkness, my old friend.
Hey. When we talk about family dynamics, I guess for me, I'll try to be really brief. My mom and my dad are both with different people. My mom, when I was young, they both remarried when I was young. My stepdad is a huge part of my life. My stepmom was a huge part of my life. Don't really have a relationship with my dad and my stepmom now, except like Facebook. We don't really talk that much, which is really hard for me actually. And my dad and my stepmom, it's really my dad. Like, I have no relationship with my dad, which is very painful. I have tried to reach out to my dad. I actually asked if we could have dinner back like a year ago. He ghosted me, never responded. Unfortunately for him and technology, I think his read receipts were on. So I do know that he got it and read it and then never responded to me. Yeah. So that was pretty unfortunate.
Hard to see.
Yeah, hard to see. Yeah. Because I'm just 32 years old, still wishing my daddy would love me, right? Which is just, that shit just sucks, you know? So, but the blessing of both of those marriages is that my stepmom and my stepdad are incredible people. And I love them a lot, despite the brokenness of my dad. And they've had kids. So my stepdad and my mom have my brother Caleb. You know, he's going through his shit era right now. He's in college, testing waters, you know, experiencing a new life. But I love him very much. We're very close. And then my dad and my stepmom have 2 kids, Logan and Dylan. And I love them a whole ton. And we were very close when I was growing up, but they're just in their busy era, right? Like my sister was in college. I don't know if she's still going to school, but she was doing classes, moved in with her boyfriend, who's great. They have a great relationship. They've been together for a few years now. And then my brother works out of town all the time. So we text and have phone calls every now and then, but we're just not as close as we were. But it's just that season, right? Yeah. So 3 siblings, dad and mom are both remarried, and that's kind of my family dynamic.
Yeah.
What about you?
I have 2 parents, and then one is married.
Yeah.
Sorry, my parents separated when I was 7.
Yeah.
Sorry, it's always weird when your family's got the blend like this.
Yeah, I know.
And
like,
where
do
do you start?
Exactly.
So my parents divorced when I was 7. Before, maybe I was 6, but before they divorced, it was us 4 kids. It was Ashley, Cody, then me and Shelby. Cody and Ashley are my half siblings, and Shelby is my full sibling, but we never viewed it like that. We're just 4 siblings. I've had this necklace for, I don't know, probably 8 years now.
Oh, I love that.
And the little discs have an A and a C and an S on them for Ashley, Cody, Shelby. And I got it because I was becoming district licensed, and I wanted a little bit of bling. $30 bling.
Yeah, I love that. And you wear it all the time. Yeah,
I wear it all the time. It's my favorite necklace. Yeah. And anyways, they're very important to me. My dad died about 2.5 years ago. He was dating somebody that's very important to me.
we
I think
love her
she
a
was
lot.
incredible. Her name's Lisa.
Still actively have a relationship with her now.
Totally.
Like,
Yep.
still,
Still
great.
takes Jackie and I
She
out
actually
to breakfast.
She actually just messaged Brandon and I not that long ago. She listens to the podcast. So
Yeah.
we love you, Lisa.
And my mom and I have an off and on good or complicated relationship. She is married to my stepdad Jimmy. She's been married for probably 14 years of the 20 years that Jimmy has been in my life. Ashley lives in an area.
Yeah.
I feel like you shouldn't divulge that.
Yeah.
She lives in an area
far from you.
and
Far from you.
me. I live in Grand Rapids now, and her and her husband Joel have 3 kids, our nieces and nephews, and Cody lives in Denver and travels a little bit. I don't know what to call that era, but you'll find something.
Yeah, we're never really sure where Cody's. Cody's a vibe. We're just like, yo, Cody,
he's in an era.
What are you doing?
Is an era. Like,
exactly. Yeah. Love you,
someday
Cody.
I might live a Cody era. Do you know what I mean?
God, I hope we all. Cody, we love you. You take us with you.
And
okay?
Shelby and our brother-in-law Andrew.
God, love them. My heart.
We love them, and they are in their workhorse era. They're trying to clean up a house. Jackie and I are trying to get them to Grand Rapids. I think they're going to come on their own.
Yeah, that'll bring me.
They
to
don't
Grand
need
Rapids,
no.
So, like I'll want to come a lot more if we got
Shelby and Andrew work it.
If we have all of them, you know what I mean. I can hit 4. I can hit
Can
all
we
the
buy
family in one trip.
one of those like cul-de-sacs,
Oh my God!
and we could have like.
We're moving to Grand Rapids.
3 of the 4 houses are occupied, but if you are a dropout and would like to live by us,
we will buy the whole thing.
in this imagination, you can come join it.
Meetups would be so easy.
Totally.
So, we have a quick break in this family. Have you guys ever heard the song "Family Portrait" by Pink? It's such a classic. But anyway, we'll have to link that in the comments. You guys gotta. It is all about broken family. You guys gotta hit that.
Ooh.
Hit that on Spotify. But anyways, besides that song, we're gonna play a little ditty that we love, Keyboard Warriors.
Keyboard Warriors for Christ.
Okay, so this keyboard warrior came to us on the YouTube. That's nice. Nice little change of pace.
Yes.
And our keyboard warriors typically came from Facebook. So this is really good change up for us, I think. And it's my favorite. Yeah, good. Perfect.
We posted a YouTube reel. It was on TikTok, but it was like we were wearing the t-shirts from Change, and
women don't owe you shit.
Right. And there was one where Chelsea's like, I'm gonna go ahead and apologize in advance, and I'm like, nah, whatever. And then
just a cute little thing.
This person, I felt the context was needed, but this person says, I refuse to believe these people are adults.
And that's one of my favorite keyboard warriors because I don't know if I believe it. Adulthood has been shocking, honestly.
If you're an adult, XSH H4DW,
done.
Then I don't want to be in one.
That's true. Yeah. We're not in the same camp, man. I'm a teenager. I'll take it.
I know.
But yeah, that's funny. And I don't know that we've really claimed adulthood, honestly. I don't think we've ever done a podcast where we've said we're adults.
Yeah.
Listen to what we're saying. You know what I mean? We are kind of.
Our podcast has a bank account. So
take that.
Take that.
I pay my bills.
Right.
My bills
Making
are
our
paid.
dads proud.
So that's the dead one and the bad one. No, so if you don't have humor, you have nothing. You know what I'm saying?
That's true.
So
Very important motto to start this episode off with.
Absolutely. Oh my God, that's so great. So I know that we have a very broad audience when it comes to who listens to this podcast.
Yeah.
And I think we try really hard. Like we have friends who are pastors that listen to this podcast.
Yep.
We have friends who are atheists that listen to this podcast. Agnostic, Christians. We have a lot of different people. So I want to just say I'm just going to quickly reference something that is important to me before we have this conversation. And it's Psalm 103:8, and it's short, I promise. But there's two little chunks to that Psalm. And I just want to read this part of the verse. And it says, the Lord is compassionate and gracious. And I just want to say that those two things, every time Brandon and I come in this space and we talk about things that kind of suck, like we literally, I think it was episode 14, we literally talked about abortion.
Mhm.
Like we've talked about some really hard. The Pride episode was hard. Like a lot of these hard conversations for us. The two things we always want to be are compassionate and gracious.
Mhm.
Even if we make jokes about, your church's pastor
Yeah.
holding up their wallet, stupid shit, or, we do joke and condemn a little bit in what we do, but we want to be compassionate and
Yeah.
gracious.
Well, and I think just because we point out something doesn't mean that we hate it.
Yeah, that's
Like,
right.
We
Or that we're
sometimes-
better.
Yeah. I think we learned early on, like, there will be other podcasts if you guys want some church appreciation. We feel like we're called to the tension.
Yeah,
So
that's
we're
right.
gonna go there.
Yeah, that's right.
I think we wanted to start a conversation today around our families,
Mhm.
because we can talk about several layers of anti-racism, of allyship, of
Yep.
deconstruction.
Yep.
And oftentimes your family plays a role in that.
Mhm.
And we're going to be transparent this episode because there are people that need that from us.
Mhm.
And that I feel like always when we have a topic like this, our guts feel weird because
Yeah.
we know we're going to head into a space that will maybe cause tension.
Yeah.
But that's often the places where people need your voice.
Well, and I guess I also just want to say that, like, we can have conversations about race and the LGBTQ community and, I don't know, any other social justice conversation.
Yeah.
And I'm going to be honest with you. For the most part, for Brandon and I, those things are comfortable because our belief is not changing.
Yeah.
The way we believe about those communities and the way we believe in those conversations is defiant, it's authentic, and it's very passionate.
Mm-hmm.
But the hard part about conversations like this is we're vulnerable.
Mm-hmm.
We don't have a defiant or like a very hard pressed thought. We're very open, we're very unsure,
Mm-hmm.
and we're just kind of navigating. We're in the trenches right now.
Yeah.
So it's different than being like, if you're not an ally, like, then you're not like that. Okay, that's
right.
easy
That's
to
not
say.
that's not our podcast.
Exactly.
Yeah.
This is different, and it's hard. We've changed even the dynamic of how close we're sitting, because this conversation is just intimate and hard.
Mm-hmm.
And so I guess I just want you to know that, like, especially because we both know that there will be family members on both sides that will listen to this, and they're already expecting hate,
Mm-hmm.
and they're already expecting us to be shitty,
Yeah.
and they're already watching, and they can't wait to rage about what we've said about them. Like,
Yeah.
we already know that's coming. But we're not doing this for them. We're doing this for people that need to know that, like, you're not alone in the battles with your own family, and that we're in the trenches of some of those battles
Yeah.
right now. And so I hope that does justice a little bit to this conversation.
I think so.
So I guess my first question is, my family, I want to just say really quick, because I'm not going to be sharing as much in this conversation because I do not come from a Christian family. So my background is not, I was not raised in the church. I don't have church drama. I don't have brokenness from deconstruction. I don't have any of that. But this podcast episode is really about how your families are impacted by your deconstruction.
Mm-hmm.
And so I have a question I'm going to ask Brandon, and he's just going to, kind of really share with you guys here. But I want to know, and a lot of you have asked the same question of us.
Mm-hmm.
How did you express or share your deconstruction with your family? What did your deconstruction process look like? And what does it look like now
Yep.
as you've navigated it with your own family?
My family grew up very, very churched. Not as churched as most because divorce instantly makes it complicated. Because when you look at families that are divorced and families that aren't, and they're both churched, it's different. Like, but there is definitely a desire to appear churched that is in
image,
that is in the image of my upbringing. There's an underlying, like, this is what good ethics is, and if I'm honest, it also is aligned with conservatism. Did I say that right?
We'll roll with it.
You guys know.
Makes sense.
You
Makes
guys,
sense.
I trust you guys
We
will
get
hear
it.
me.
Yeah.
But why I say that is I don't think when I deconstructed, I went along with my family. I think I I must have been afraid, and probably still to a degree, to give them the full of my belief and my thought. So I generally reveal it over time in little ways.
Like your views on certain
Mhm.
topics you're talking about? Okay.
Yep.
Yeah.
Because it's scary. You don't want to scare anybody off, but I would wrestle with these things in private
Mhm.
and and deal with certain pieces as it comes. I think what it started, I wouldn't say my deconstruction started until my anti-racism started.
And those things started to intertwine.
Right.
Mm.
So if I can still use the same word, deconstruction, I deconstructed what whiteness meant and the responsibility I had in my community.
Yeah.
And when I bothered family, that's when I started to be like, wait a minute.
Like you're standing up for social, you're standing up for anti-racism,
Right.
bothered your family, you're saying. Things you posted or what?
Yeah, I posted on my story a snippet of one of the speeches at Flint's George Floyd rally. And I went with my sister.
Okay. Shelby?
Yes.
Okay.
And I got a text from my grandma on my maternal side, and she was way disappointed in me, and just
and she's very Christian.
Very Christian.
So that okay, that makes sense. Yeah.
My maternal side is more Christian than my paternal side because my grandma and grandpa faith is very important to them. My grandpa passed, my grandma's still living. But that was a weird time because she was so bothered and upset about me like going to like mourn with those who mourn. Like that was so
and that was
bothersome
biblical to
me.
you.
To me it was biblical.
Or to anyone it is
like
also biblical, but
to me it felt like even in my like I still thought I was conservative leaning moderate maybe right then. But then I was like, well, I just want to go hear what they have to say. Like it's worth it for me to hear the voices of people that are struggling with this. I need to hear Black voices say what bothers them because I'm not getting it. Like at the same level.
Yeah.
I'm starting to get it. I felt my stomach churning with that with that incident,
and that was like godliness. That was like Holy Spirit working in you to mourn. Yeah.
But when I'm seeing people I follow, whether they were an actor, athlete, or author, 3 A's. There you go. That's the preacher
That's the title
in me.
Of the episode. 3 main points.
But I would see these voices on social media, and I would see how they were mourning, and not just mourning, they were pissed. And I was like, I'm mad, but I'm still comfortable, and I need to know why I need to hear those voices.
Right.
So I went to my hometown's rally, and I thought it was valuable to hear those voices, but it was wild how that wasn't valuable, to where like I'm pretty sure I heard statements from my grandma and my aunt that lives with my grandma about like you're dead to me, like I'm disappointed in you for going to that. And like I've never fought with a relative, but I had a phone call like a day later with my aunt, and we did yell at each other, like and so that's when I started. So I revealed, like, because I felt the boldness to post on social media with that was a problem. I know it was a problem to my mom. I don't remember how I know that, but we would start to have, like, once I started to have these views and I would make them publicly on like my social media, I would start hearing things in conversations differently. And I don't know if that was my ears opening up and my eyes opening up, but or if it was like my mom wanted to or if she was trying to like drop something to teach me something that she knew that I didn't be. So there was times where my mom would say on the phone, like, that conservative flag there's nothing racist about it. And I was like, wait,
Confederate flag.
Oh,
right.
Did
You
I
said
say conservative?
Yeah.
Well,
that's
synonymous.
Kind of weird. Yeah,
but
that's a little bit. I want to laugh, but this is a
But
very serious.
I know, but she said that,
But wow,
and
yeah.
I remember us having a conversation over
Yeah.
that, and that was a really rough conversation. And we started. That was that year of 2020. My mom and I had rough conversations around race. But we have since had better conversations. I want to say that. Yeah.
I was just gonna say, without saying anything that's too much,
Mm-hmm.
I feel like in our closeness, I have heard of the openness of your mother
Yep.
and the bonding that you have had in some
Yep.
of these. So I don't want a bad picture to be painted.
Yep.
But that's what caused your that's what started a deconstruction, is these
Yep.
rough waters in these conversations that should be easy.
Yeah.
Because I want to just say, when you mentioned these views, because a few times in this conversation, Brandon has said, as I've had these views, I've been afraid, or I've had hard conversations.
Right.
You would think that these views he's referring to are like witchcraft. He's talking about views like anti-racism. He's talking about views like allyship or openness to the LGBTQ community,
Right.
and listening and asking questions and seeking.
Right.
When he's talking about these views, I just want you to know this is not like he started putting crystals under his pillow. And if that's you, let me know if those work, because I've been having some bad luck. But you know what I mean? Like, we're not talking about outlandish, crazy. And I just think it's important for people to know that. Like,
Right.
So anyways, okay. So that's where it started. Where is it now?
Yeah. Now it's a bit rocky. We definitely, I don't know if it's me that thinks the reason why relationships aren't good always have a political underline. When I think I'm the black sheep, or I'm the problem, I'm the outspoken one, I'm the outspoken liberal of the family.
Right.
So
Right.
so I don't know if it's me that's the story I'm telling myself, is that, well, they don't like me because I'm that, or if that's true. I really wrestle with that.
But that's what they're often saying, though.
Yes. Or they're saying it's not because of that. And so I guess I'll get specific, because when I'm vague, it gets muddy. It gets muddy, because there are different family members in these stories, but I'll say Shelby and I are really good. We have in the past not seen eye to eye on things, but I think we both come to conversations with humility, and we talk openly about our views and stuff. And I think we trust that each other will bring humility. I think I still struggle with when my mom and I have conversations, that I just have to take what she says, and she's not going to fully listen to the view I have, or the opinion I have, or the facts that are out there.
Well, and that might be a more respect thing too. Like, you respect your mother to not constantly have to debate the things that you know she's not going to necessarily move where you wish she would.
Well, and I worry, I'll be honest, I worry about well-being, and if and my mom carries things, and they can really give her anxiety. And so healthy or not, I really struggle with it. If I open up too much, will it cause more damage, to where my mom, I want my mom to function more than more than have to deal with all my I want to have the tough conversations.
Right, exactly.
So I'm willing to
tread lightly.
Honestly. But where things are at now is tough, because we've been through a hard year. So we mentioned earlier in the podcast that there was this investigation where Chelsea and I were voices that spoke out against a pastor.
Well, and let me just quickly say, before Brandon takes too much accountability in that, I was getting a lot of phone calls from my church leadership about this pastor who was saying things about me. And so and how liberal I was in my social media, And I decided to then turn it around on that pastor and say, well, I think that that pastor is out of line. And what happened out of that was it opened up multiple voices who agreed that they thought that pastor was out of line. I believe the count was up to, at one point, almost 14 or so different voices that agreed that this pastor was out of line. Out of those 14 voices, I was one of those voices. And actually, my voice was kind of small in the testimony that I even gave. Out of those 14 or so voices, Brandon was one of them as well. Yep. Also a very small part of these stories. So
And
I just don't want you to claim that.
What we should also say too is that we didn't investigate.
Nope.
The district that credentials us and that minister decided to investigate.
Yep. So they met with us.
They asked, Yep.
And I never, and this might be the first time we're publicly saying this.
Mm-hmm.
I never, ever asked Brandon to speak on this issue.
Nope.
And I never, ever told them to ask Brandon to speak on this issue.
Yep.
But they knew in the line of this minister's work that Brandon had at one point
worked with.
Yep.
And because I was removed, they felt me a safe enough person to ask why.
Yes.
So
because you were no longer under the leadership of this. Yes, right.
So I told my why.
Right, yep.
And that was it.
Yep.
30 minutes.
Yep.
And so where it gets really muddy, and I promise this will connect to my family, but where it gets really muddy is that district did decide to investigate that minister. Mm-hmm. They did believe there was claim off of these 14, 15 stories to I do believe the stories were reduced down to like 11, but
that's why I said roughly.
I know, and I just want to be clear.
Yeah, me too.
Like, they believed it worth to let that family know that, well, let that minister know, not really the family, that they were going to seek investigation off of these collective, I wouldn't say charges, but concepts
testimonies
out of all these testimonies, they found these two issues that they were going to investigate. I should say that's a better way to say it.
Yeah.
Why that becomes an issue is one of my family members, my sister Ashley, still attends that church and works for that church. Mm-hmm. Shelby and I have had to leave that church when we did work for them when they first started. Cody was never really involved with that church. But yeah. And why it becomes an issue is my family became kind of ingrained with this issue because of our closeness with this family.
And the district because this family, this minister, had every right to know who gave testimony of hardship or struggle. So I want to put that out there. So because he had every right to know those names, guess whose names appeared on that list?
Yep. It was mine. And and so what happened from that day is my sister Ashley ghosted me and my other two siblings, and blocked us on social media and told us we can't see our three nieces and nephew. And we haven't heard from our brother-in-law. And it's been a really sore issue in our family because when that minister found out
that you had a part in
it, I don't know how, but my sister found out, and she has never told us why she has ghosted us, and that was last October. My wedding was last August, where she stood up in our wedding. Her kids were able to be a part of it. Months earlier, we had made really good strides in our personal relationship, where her and I had conversations around how do we move forward, what would be the ideal, because we had political tensions, and we had conversations around how do we move forward, and we envisioned together what siblingship would look like. and what we would want that to be. And I expressed how I'd love for her to have a relationship with like Jackie. I'd love to be able to have relationships with her, and we don't, and if talking about politics and talking about church related stuff becomes an issue for us, then we don't go there.
Yeah.
And that was our agreement.
Yeah.
And she said
Before or after your wedding?
before.
Okay.
And then I felt it like, you know what, I didn't see this before, but I'd love to have Ashley on my side. It's too late to figure it out any other way, but like if you could add her to like my side, and we did, and it was beautiful. I really loved our day together. And you know, and it's just since then, because she found out about me sharing about a story of my somebody that honestly I think only me and that minister have a authentic, true opinion about how we interacted with each other. Ashley at the time didn't attend that church at all. Didn't interact with them at all.
Was the story you shared, the testimony you gave, and you're out of the church, you have nothing to,
Yeah.
Was it true?
Yeah.
Did it paint him in a bad light? What do you think?
I would say it paints him in a complicated light.
Okay.
I think there are some parts that are like, yeah, that's a little rough, but I don't think it was anything like, I wouldn't say it villainized
enough to cut your family off is what I'm asking. Okay.
No, definitely not. And I think what's wild, Chelsea, is you know there's two sides to every story.
Always. That's why I kind of asked that question.
It feels like what Ashley did was said, nah, bitch, it's 3. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah. No, yeah.
Like, it's just me and that minister. But what's wild is it feels like for 4 years where Ashley was not involved with that situation at all, she now becomes like an expert on what happened and forms an opinion without ever talking to me, all because of who she currently works for.
Have you guys
and
ever
believes
talked about the situation at all?
No.
What do you believe is the reason that you're ghosted, that you have no really like?
I believe because she has found a place of worship that aligns closely with her conservative beliefs, which she would call biblical beliefs. I believe that it works for her and her family. And I think because of that, she's willing to align with that than align with the outspoken liberal brother or her sister or her other brother. And Cody is gay, for the record. And I think that it feels weird to drop that like that, but I want to say it because...
Well, he was on the podcast before saying that. He was
a
gay brother, so
right.
We're not outing him before he's outing.
I know, but I want to say that we still don't know why it's us three. I mean, there was...
Well, and
I've had one phone call with Ashley around Christmas time last year where I was wanting to get gifts for my nieces and nephew. And
we'll leave their name off.
She took my call on that, and she had just said like she needed to just get space in general. But I don't believe that to be true. Have
you tried to see your nieces and nephew?
Yeah.
And are you...
So I have tried. I've asked. I've frustratingly texted Ashley and asked, like, are there ways we can mend this before the next holiday? Like, are we going to do this for mom? I know it stresses my mom out. My mom would love to have a Thanksgiving with all of us. Like, but honestly, I don't, as far as what Cody, Shelby, and I feel, it'll be years before we are given the opportunity to speak our side of the story, or to even know if this is the story that it's relevant to. I have reasons why I believe it is, because
why it's related to the minister situation.
Yep.
Okay.
But because, you don't really know. Not everything stays a secret when she seems to be telling people why it is what it is, but she hasn't directly told me. And she hasn't allowed me time to like have that story. But I'd love to have that conversation, but
Yeah.
we're not getting it. And I'm thankful for those of you that let me go into this. And if it feels a little bit like therapy, it might be a little bit, but I want to share what I'm going through because when you deconstruct in this way, it does create these tensions with your family. And I know there's some of you that will have family members that don't speak to you. And I want you to hear me say that I'm there too.
I think that, you know, I can hear the voices of the people that will have this episode in their hands already, making comments about me crying, you know, because they've blocked me too in this journey. Somehow I really got lumped into a lot of this when really my part in this story was much smaller than it's been painted.
Yeah, definitely.
And that's been really hard, is that I've been really painted as this villain. And I've owned it. I don't think I've really spoke out and been like, I didn't say all that, but somehow I've
and it
been
really feels witch hunt like.
Oh,
because
yeah, for
people will
sure.
not give me the responsibility where it lands.
Yeah.
And
but,
instead I'm just being
which I'll take that. I would
deceptive.
rather take that for you.
I know. I'm just being deceived,
Deceived.
by my witchcraftery
Yeah.
friend.
But what has got me so emotional listening to Brandon is because I have had the privilege and the honor of knowing and hugging at some points and loving his nieces and nephew, and not so much the youngest two as much as the oldest one of the three. And so I had the blessing of watching when I was a younger minister. I remember dreaming that my brothers would love my kids someday the way that I got to watch Brandon pour into and love these kids. And in this last year, maybe even longer, I have been on the receiving end of countless phone calls where Brandon's deconstruction and this part of his story, where we get to come on this podcast and laugh with you and chase this dream, and where this part of this exciting section of his life has had this horrible result of this cutoff of these kids that he has loved more than anything in the world. And so it is, and I can't help but put myself in these stories where I think of my own daughter, and my own daughter asks about his Uncle Brandon, his Aunt Jackie, ridiculous amounts of time. We actually just last week talked about her birthday party, which isn't even until December. Okay. But if you have a kid, you get it. If you don't, I'm telling you. Okay. They talk about it forever. And one of the first things she asked me was, can we invite Uncle Brandon and Aunt Jackie? And I can't imagine thinking to myself or saying to her, no, because of something between him and I.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, no matter how this podcast goes or how our relationship goes, unless Brandon murders somebody or does something so heinous, no matter how much I dislike him, if that ever happens, which I pray to God it doesn't, unfortunately, I will be stuck forever because my daughter's investment in his and who he is, I'm fucked. There's nothing that I can do about the love that they have. I will never ever be able to have him out of my life, or Jackie, no matter what happens between the adult relationship of all of us, which I think will never be anything. So to think that this is happening with his own blood, and I'm not trying to paint Ashley as a villain either. I'm just trying to paint this story of how gut-wrenching and broken this really is. And so we are sorry if this felt like therapy, but at the same time, I think you're owed the brokenness. Like you're because I know some of you have told us these same stories.
Yeah.
You've trusted us with that part of your testimony, and we've never went here.
Yeah, I believe in and love my nieces and nephews so much, and if you
and
guys,
your sister
and my sister, yeah. And this, I really do think we were getting to places where like we were going to be able to be good no matter the political difference, no matter the the difference in biblical understanding, theology. I thought we were, and but I don't know what switched. I know I've heard, because she's told people that she is concerned that I would teach her children differently. And it's so hard to have that put on me,
Because
because
I don't think you'd ever have those conversations.
because I'd much rather talk about Marvel superheroes.
That's right,
And like,
yeah.
don't get me wrong, you guys get the part of me that really likes to talk about theology and justice.
But Rory's never had that part.
But tell me, do you overhear me talking with Rory about
I mean, never.
about political
It's
beliefs?
annoying how much you try to talk about Star Wars, which I really don't. I wish you'd talk more about Harry Potter with her, but either way.
I could work that.
But it's true. You know what I mean? It's the truth. It's and that's hard. But again,
So
that's
it's really
hearsay.
hard for that to be put on you.
Yeah.
When you don't have, when you know Ashley doesn't have any any evidence of you doing
And
what
you would
she's
never
scared
do that.
of.
Yeah, you would never do that.
Yeah. I know some people are going to be like, why does he have to use names?
Yep.
And if I could take a second and just say to you that, just think about it, and think if you had two sisters, if you just said my sister, if you have three siblings and you just said my sibling, and think for a second that the other two don't deserve it. So Shelby doesn't deserve me to use sibling as a term vaguely.
Mm-hmm.
My mom doesn't deserve it if I talk about these stories with Ashley and I say a family member. If you're Ashley and you're listening and you're upset, I just have to say, like, everybody else in our family doesn't deserve it because you wish I wouldn't tell these stories.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're mad that it's a public podcast, Ashley, I have given you time and text after call where I have asked for you to listen or for us to talk. I've asked. And if you're upset about that, I can't help that anymore. If you are receiving some of the pain that I have felt over this past year, I'm still able to talk. If you would like to respond to my text as of this last week.
Mm-hmm.
And if you are one of my nieces or nephews listening to this, I hope you know how much I love you and I believe in you. And I miss you a ton.
That'll be the TikTok clip we use, because you just never know. You just never know who's scrolling.
You don't. And I know that this is weird if you're a regular audience, but I hope you see it. I know some of you are broken and you're like, I just wish my voice was listened to like a podcast. And I hope you get to a platform someday where, and I'm not saying that because we're a big deal.
Leave us a voicemail. We'll play it for you.
Leave us a voicemail. We'll play it for your nieces and nephews or your siblings that are ghosting you. For real.
Yeah, seriously. We'll do a whole episode.
That's a whole
That'll
ass
be
segment.
our whole what's it called? What's the Patreon? We'll do a whole Patreon of that for you.
But for those of you that feel the way I do, you know exactly why I had to say that. Yep. And again, I just love you three, and someday I hope things will be different, but I believe someday you'll know why I can't why being authentic to who you are costs you, and I believe you will. If I have to deal with this character that Ashley holds, you will too. And I hope you know my number has not changed, and you'll all know exactly how to find me, and I'll be answering whenever.
And I think I just want to say to everyone that's traveled this journey with us on this episode, I know it's been long, and if you're still here, we're so thankful. And if you're still here, I just want to say to you that the whole point of this episode was for you to find relationship with us that maybe you didn't know was there, and a similarity that you didn't know was there. Not only in this broken story, right, but in this situation where our deconstruction and staying true to who you are, like Brandon just said, does cost you something. And it has costed me a career. It has costed Brandon family. and it will always cost us the perks that we once held of being people that everybody loved,
Yeah.
and always speaking, what was easy to understand, and never towing that line of are they liberal or are they conservative? Like always staying in the middle. When we decided to speak out and when we decided to speak for what we believe are the people that Jesus has asked us to talk about, are the people that Jesus has asked us to stand for with compassion and grace, it will always cost you something. And I'm praying in the depths of my soul that for most of you, it's costed little. Unfortunately for us, it's costed a lot.
Yeah.
And I hope that this conversation has just given you companionship and friendship, and maybe it's pushed you to call and leave a voicemail, to reach out with a story. Maybe you're ready to share now. Maybe you're on social media now, standing up where you wouldn't stand up before. Like the whole point of this podcast is to go with you in those stories. And unfortunately, it just felt like we couldn't go one more episode without going with you.
Yeah.
And that's just part of this.
I hope you find family where you can, and for some people, I know it will never be the same when it's blood, but give it a shot. It's it doesn't have to be for people to be family. So we love you.
And when you don't have anyone else, you always have us.
Yeah.
So we love you guys. Thanks for being a part of this family.
Bye.
Hey fam, thanks for listening to this week's episode of the Religious Dropouts podcast. We hope it gave you a space to breathe, to laugh, and connect. It's our hope that as you journey along with us, that you too might find yourself saying, damn, it feels good to be a dropout. Be sure to check out our show notes for links to anything mentioned in this episode, including ways to connect with us on social media. We'd also love for you to like, subscribe, and share this podcast with anyone you know who might want to join our community. You are loved. Have a great week.